with evidence from the scientific community, and he would still choose to not acknowledge how he was wrong. What's up, everybody? What's in the menu? Back with another video, and this time we're here to talk about two creators who've gotten themselves into an internet beef. I just want to say before we get started, if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and if you don't have to either. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them down in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to answer them to the best of my ability. Without further ado, let's get into it. It actually all started when Asmongold put out a tweet saying that Somalians have an average IQ of 68 IQ points, and that being a straight up fact. In order to debate these claims, the Birdman put out a whole 10-minute video debunking the claims that Asmongold had made, saying that the claims that he's initially claiming as fact were actually made by someone who has certain thought processes and ideologies that may not be well regarded by the scientific community as a whole. The initial 10-minute video that the Birdman put out in response to Asmongold's tweet that prompted the response was actually very well put out, articulate, had a lot of facts and resources as to what made the initial claims that Asmongold made not valid whatsoever. In terms of response videos made by creators in response to things that they have claimed themselves, this one was actually very well thought out, articulate, and seemed to have no holes in the arguments that he was making as to why Asmongold's initial claims were not as factual as he claimed them to be in the first place. Naturally, Asmongold saw the Birdman's video about his initial tweet and actually decided to make a response video to his video of his initial tweet. Unfortunately, Asmongold seemed to have a lot of issues with the Birdman's initial response to his tweet based on his video, making a lot of claims as to things that he didn't feel were accurately explained, or he felt as though he was using evidence that wasn't well substantiated to kind of defend the Birdman's arguments as to why Asmongold's initial claims weren't true. I'm not going to go over the Birdman's initial response to Asmongold's response to his initial 10-minute video, because the Birdman's rebuttal to Asmongold's response to his initial 10-minute video was actually a whole hour long, and I'm not going to get into that hour-long discussion. I'll leave a link to all three videos, responses, the two Birdman videos and one Asmongold response down in the link in the description, but I'll just summarize everything that went down in the Birdman's initial response to Asmongold's response to his 10-minute video about his tweet. I know that's a lot, but please bear with me. First, let me say this. I've been watching the Birdman's videos for about 5+ years now. His main series that he kind of has the most popularity for is his Everything Wrong with CinemaSins videos. He tends to do a breakdown of the CinemaSins videos that they currently put out now, and saying that they kind of lost the spark as to what made them them. And a lot of their videos tend to kind of just nitpick things in movies that aren't necessarily things wrong with the movie, but things they wish would happen half the time, and other things that aren't necessarily relevant to film critiques that they usually would do in their past videos. In addition to these types of videos, he tends to do videos exposing people who tend to be grifters online and tend to change their political or ideological views based on whatever seems to be the most monetizable at the current point in time. As of late, Asmongold has been caught up in the Birdman's tornado of exposing grifters to the things that they do to their audience in order to try and get engagement and farm sort of reactions out of people so that they can kind of get more buzz on the content that they produce. Asmongold initially made a claim about Somalians having an average IQ of 68 IQ points, which generally speaking is really low, and he likes to make the claim that because these individuals have a lower IQ, they should not be allowed into the country, because people in America do not want people with lower IQs to be entering the country. The Birdman himself actually refuted this claim in saying that the actual average IQ of people in Somalia, or at least developed areas of sub-Saharan Africa, tend to have a general IQ of 80, which is a whole 13 points higher than what Asmongold initially claimed to be a factoid. And even when faced with this piece of fact that was actually counterintuitive to what Asmongold initially claimed, he kind of tried to brush it off as something that wasn't as big of a jump as it was, because a whole 12 to 13 points in IQ was actually very huge of a difference compared to just 68, 67 as he initially claimed, which is kind of something he did refuse to acknowledge or even claim that was actually a big change in what he initially thought. Not only does the Birdman disprove information that Asmongold used from somebody who did not use credible sources or science to come to their conclusion, but he also likes to break down why certain factors may contribute to someone's IQ ability, like their ability to access education, their ability to actually have proper nutrition and have their basic human needs met, their ability to also not be in a war-stricken area or taken control by poverty, things like that that have a better overall effect on someone's health and ability to positively learn / gain knowledge. But for whatever reason, that didn't really register to Asmongold. To be fair, I actually watched both videos from the Birdman and Asmongold, and if I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, even though I do follow the Birdman on YouTube, Asmongold just didn't have a leg to stand on in terms of the claims that he initially made on his first tweet. The Birdman did a very thorough deep dive of his initial video, trying to debunk any claims that Asmongold made in his response video to the Birdman's initial video, responding to Asmongold's tweet about Somalians having a general IQ of 68 based on their environment. So it just doesn't make sense that Asmongold will kind of double down when a lot of the facts about his initial tweet were presented in front of him with evidence from the scientific community, and he would still choose to not acknowledge how he was wrong. If I want to piggyback off of the video I did about Brendan Buckingham and his hater Purple Perry, the internet has actually spawned a lot of people who, because they're able to make a living off of talking about who knows what on the internet, even though they may not have a degree in whatever topic they may be talking about, it feels as though a lot of people feel entitled, and that the facts in which they are speaking, or quote unquote facts, with the quotation marks both around the word facts, they can talk about certain topics without any sort of scrutiny, checking, backing, even though they don't have expertise in this area of whatever they're talking about, and they can just say it without any consequence. Things about genetics, IQ testing, neurological ability by certain individuals of certain regions, these are things that have been studied by scientists in the neurological community, in the scientific community, across several years, decades, maybe even centuries. And the fact that certain people, they think that certain facts are irrefutable because of findings that they found on the internet, and not doing their own research and seeing the findings of other people who have actually gone in the field and try to find the answers for these questions, kind of rubs me the wrong way. Because as someone who has been in the field of research, it takes a lot of work and effort in order to find results / conclusions about certain topics. And when someone who hasn't done the work of research claims for something to be true when they haven't done the research themselves, or they fail to even do excessive research on whatever topic they claim to be true, is kind of disheartening, and shows that a lot of people try not to find the answers in which they seek and kind of just go off whatever they see at first glance. These are unfortunate realities, but they tend to be poverty-stricken areas with low nutrition, low emphasis on education or accessibility to education. And even with these factors being considered, the median average, or at least the average IQ of people, tends to be 80. It's interesting because even when presented with the information that the general IQ for people born in sub-Saharan African areas has an average IQ of about 80 IQ points, Asmongold still chooses to not really accept the fact that a whole 12 to 13 IQ points difference is a huge one compared to the 68, 67 IQ number he gave initially. And I guarantee if anybody was a good 12 to 13 IQ points smarter than they already are, the difference would be quite noticeable compared to the IQ that they currently have. Overall, I just want to wrap it up by saying this. Asmongold made a very, very bold claim with the tweet that he initially made, and Birdman responded with not only a video to his initial tweet, but also a video responding to Asmongold's response of his first initial response video. Not to talk in circles or anything, but I think the main takeaway from this is that if you're going to make any fact-based claims on the internet, please make sure to know the sources that you're citing, and to be very firm that the sources that you're citing are credible and actually have weight and can be verified through other means of testing, whether that be through the scientific community or experiments you could run yourself at home. Obviously, testing a whole population on their general IQ points is kind of hard to do by yourself, and that's why there are professionals who do this, for the fact of collecting research data and whatnot on people's general IQ abilities. But there are also several factors that take into account as to things that can influence someone's IQ, like we mentioned earlier: their environment, their access to food, shelter, education, the emphasis they get on education as well, and other things of that nature that may influence their ability to be considered smart or not. So overall, what do you guys think? Do you think Asmongold was verified in his claims to make on social media without any evidence to back them up, or do you think the Birdman was justified in calling Asmongold out for making claims that weren't really justified or backed by real science? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.